Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back. This is Miss Moreno. Today we're going over Module 1, Lesson 22. Thank you to all of you that have been following along and completing the math during these days. Remember, this is required. This is not vacation time. This is a requirement for the class. On today's lesson, looking at the title, it says Getting the Job Done. We're going to be looking at speed, work, and measurement units. So here's a vocabulary that they provided for you, distance, rate, and time, and they gave you the formula. Before I go over this, I would actually like to go over the vocabulary words. So the first word we have is distance. Distance is the amount of space between two places or two things. The next word is rate. Rate is the number of times something happens or the number of examples of something within a certain period. And finally, we have time, the thing that is measured in minutes, hours, days, years, etc., using clocks. So you may pause this at any time to go over the vocabulary words. But now that we went over them, I can go over this formula provided here. In this lesson, we will be doing two things. We will be finding the distance and the rate. So to find the distance, we're going to multiply the rate times time. And to find the rate, we need to divide the distance times the time. So these are two different things we're going to do in today's lesson. We will be starting off with finding the rate by dividing the distance times the time. And again, this is just a review here for you. You can pause it and go over this, and I'm going to move on to the actual example. So if an object is moving at a constant rate of speed for a certain amount of time, it is possible to find how far the object went by multiplying the rate and the time. In mathematical language, we say distance equals rate times time. So here in example 1, it says a walker. Substitute the walker's distance and time into the equation and solve for the rate of speed. So let's slow this down. We're looking at, it's saying substitute the distance and the time. So for distance, I'm going to work in feet and time in seconds. So I can say that my distance equals 50 feet and my time equals 8 seconds. So let's take a look at the distance, 50 feet. And we're looking at the time, which is 8 seconds. And we are focusing on finding the rate. So to do that, I need to divide both sides by the time to give me the formula distance divided by time equals rate. And again, that was the formula provided in the beginning of the lesson. If this confuses you, just memorize that distance over time equals rate, and you can write it as rate equals distance over time. So I'm going to take the information I just gave you. I know that my rate is 50 feet, right? And 8, that went too fast. My rate is 50 feet for every 8 seconds. And now I need to divide 50 by 8 to get my actual rate. And after dividing, I get 6 and 25 hundredths feet per second. Okay, let's look at example 2. And again, boys and girls, do not worry. You may pause this, rewind whenever you need. I'm just looking that you're trying, and I'm very proud of you guys for getting this far. So as long as you're trying and I see that you're putting effort, you get full credit. I know this lesson is heavy, está bien pesado, it's too much information at once. So I understand this is not an easy lesson to go over. So let me continue. Example 2. Chris Johnson ran 40-yard dash in 4.24 seconds. What is the rate of speed? And we need to round the answer to the nearest hundreds. So again, you see that formula again. Distance equals rate times time. So I know my distance. It's 40 yards. And I'm given the time, which is 4.24 seconds. I need to answer what is the rate. So my formula is R equals D divided by T, which stands for R. Rate equals distance divided by time. So all I'm doing, where is this distance? I'm putting 40 yards. And time, 4.24 seconds. Again, that information I got directly from the problem. And in order for me to find out the rate, I need to divide 40 by 4.24. And take into account that I need to round to the nearest hundreds. So I'm just doing my division here. Okay, and I stopped here. I need to round to the hundreds. So right now my 9 is in my ones place. The 4 is in the tenths place. And the 3 is in the hundreds place. I need to I include one more digit in order for me to round, right? And when I keep going, this is where I stop. Now I have enough information to round to the nearest hundred. So by looking here, 3 is less than 5. So when I round, my answer is 9.43 yards per second. Or I should say approximately 9.43 yards per second is my rate. I apologize if this was blurry. I promise next lesson would be way more clear. But now we're looking at this formula, and on top of that, we're converting. We're converting units of measurement. So if the runner were able to run at a constant rate, how many yards would he run in 1 hour? So we're going to do this by breaking it down in 2 parts. So the first part, how many yards did he run in 1 minute? So I'm going to start by taking the information that he ran 9.43 yards per second, right? That's from part 1. If you're wondering where I got that from, that's from part 1. Now, I need to change, let me be more specific. I want to find out how many yards he ran in 1 minute. So this is written in seconds, right? And I know that 60 seconds is 1 minute. So I'm going to multiply by 60. After multiplying, I get 565 and 80 hundredths yards in 1 minute. Or 565.80 yards in 1 minute. Okay, I'm ready for part B. Now I need to convert. I want to know how many yards he would run in 1 hour. So I'm going to take this information right here. 565.80 yards in 1 minute. And rewrite it. And I want to know how much he ran in 1 hour. I know that 60 minutes is 1 hour. So I'm going to multiply by 60 minutes per hour. And after multiplying, I get 33,948 yards in 1 hour. Now, we broke it up in 2 steps, but you could have done everything in 1 step. Here's what we started with, 9.43 yards per second. Right, and we multiplied that by 60 seconds per minute because 60 seconds make 1 minute. Then we converted the minutes to an hour. 60 minutes make 1 hour, and that gave us our final response. Again, I know this is a lot of information, so as long as you're trying and following along, that's what I care about. Now here's part 3. I want to know how many miles did the runner travel in that hour. So now I need to convert again, and we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So let's take what we know. He runs 33,948 yards in 1 hour. And I know that 1 mile equals 1,760 yards. So I can cross off yards, and if this makes it easier, right, that's like having 33,948 over 1. And when I multiply across, I end up with 33,948 divided by 1,760 miles per hour. And I need to round to the nearest 10th. So after doing my work, I get 19.3 miles per hour. Finally, a lesson with simple words, or an exercise, I should say. I drove my car on cruise control at 65 miles per hour for 3 hours without stopping. How far did I go? So they give us here 65 miles per hour, and that is the rate, right? 65 miles per hour for 3 hours, and 3 hours is the time. And how far did I go is the distance. How far did I travel? So I'm just going to take the information that's already there and plug it into this equation. So we know we're going to have to multiply the rate times the time to find the distance. So rate equals 65 miles per hour. I'm just rewriting what I know in simple terms. And I know that time equals 3 hours. And I'm just filling it in. I'm just filling it in right here, the information that I already have. So if I do 65 times 3, I get 195. So the distance that I traveled was 195 miles. Here is exercise 2. I want you to pause the video, try it on your own. When you're ready, turn it back on, and the answer will be shown. So after pausing the video and coming back on, you should have had the rate as 50 miles per hour, and you multiplied by 0.25 hours. And your final answer should have been the distance is 12.50 miles. Here's the exit ticket. Do the same, please. Pause it. Try it on your own. And when you're ready, turn the video back on. And again, here are the answers, so you can double check your work. For the problem set, I only want you to do number 1. Try it on your own. And when you're ready, the answer will be here. So thank you, boys and girls, for following along through these difficult days. We will do this. We'll get through it. I believe in you guys, and I'm very proud of what you have done so far.